Mario Kart Double Dash is a special game within the Mario Kart series. There's truly no other Mario Kart game quite like this one, and alongside this game are some incredible tracks. These tracks are going to be ranked from worst to best, so we can determine which track is the best in Mario Kart Double Dash. Prepare for a few hot takes, as there are definitely some spicy takes within this list. Now let's kick off with the worst track in Mario Kart Double Dash. Sherbet Land. This track aesthetically looks pretty nice, and I like the ice skating Shy Guys, but what ruins this track for me is the ice physics, as they are terrible. It makes everything feel way more slippery, which can make racing on this track feel incredibly frustrating. I should also mention the freezies at the end of the track. Colliding with a freezie will turn you into a block of ice for a good few seconds, which is incredibly annoying. Easily the worst and most frustrating track to race on in Double Dash. Luigi Circuit. Onto the 2-star tracks. Luigi Circuit is the first track in Double Dash, so as you would expect, it is a pretty easy course, and the theme is very basic too. However, this is still a decent track, and I like the bit of the track where you drive back up the same bit of road, where you can end up clashing with other racers head on. Luigi Circuit makes a great first impression on what to expect for the rest of the tracks in this game. Mario Circuit. Here we have yet another basic circuit themed track. It's got a nice layout, some hazards on the course to avoid in the form of chain chomps and piranha plants, and I like the blue shell posts on this course. This track is ranked quite low on this list, since it's not very creative compared to the other tracks in this game. Dry Desert. The 3-star tracks. Dry Desert is our desert themed course for this game, and it's pretty good. We got lots of cool elements on this course, like the giant tornadoes, the pokey enemies, and that huge quicksand pit in the middle of the track. There are also plenty of opportunities to take shortcuts on this map, if you have some mushrooms. Overall, a decent desert track. Dino Jungle. This is an interesting one, as I have very mixed feelings on this track. On one hand, it's a pretty decent track. The big dino on the track is pretty cool. I like the part of the track with all the narrow bridges, and the shortcuts you take with a mushroom is pretty cool too. On the other hand though, and this could just be me, but this track doesn't feel very Mario to me, if that makes sense. I don't think it fits in that well with the other tracks, and I don't find this track to be as memorable as other tracks ranked higher up in this list. It's still a solid track though, which is deserving of at least a 3-star rating. Peach Beach. A pretty nice beach themed course. You'll be driving along a sandy beach while avoiding whatever the heck those things are, and you get to race through a little town area too. I like the alternative path you can take over the big ramp as well. It's pretty cool. Mushroom Bridge. The first of 2 tracks featuring the big vehicles. At first glance, this track seems to have a pretty simple layout with some big vehicles thrown onto the roads. However, what makes me really enjoy this track are the amount of shortcuts you can take on this course. There's quite an obvious one here you can take if you have a mushroom. There's another right at the very start of the lap you can take, which takes you through a giant big pipe, and there's my favourite one where you can drive up the bridge railings and get a bunch of speed from the boost panels. I think Mushroom Bridge is an underrated track in the series, as I really like this one. Mushroom City. The 4-star tracks. We are only just reaching the halfway point on this list, and we are already onto the 4-star tracks. Mushroom City is the second track in the game featuring those big vehicles, but this time, instead of racing alongside those vehicles, the vehicles are travelling in the opposite direction straight towards you, making them way more dangerous. This track's layout is also really interesting, with it featuring lots of different branching paths you can take. If this is your favourite track in Double Dash, I can understand why, as it's a great track. Baby Park. Welcome to 7 Laps of Hell. This track is a simple loop that you go around 7 times, and you will find out very quickly that things can turn absolutely chaotic on this course. Shells, bombs, and bananas are flying all over the place on this track, and it's carnage from start to finish, and I love it. Listen, I do not care if this is a hot take for having Baby Park so high up on the list, but I think Baby Park is goated. Love this track. Waluigi Stadium. This is a really fun and satisfying course to race on. Loads of tight turns, jumps, and there's that section of the track featuring the rotating fireballs and piranha plants. I have nothing bad to say about this track. Wario Coliseum. The whole track takes place in a huge dome. You start by taking this huge jump into the dome, then you drift all the way down this massive spiral, take some tight turns, and then there's another big jump you can take right at the bottom of the dome before you exit. This track is one of the longest in Double Dash, and because of that, instead of doing 3 laps of this course, you only do 2. It's also one of the most challenging courses in the game, since the track is pretty narrow, and it's quite easy to fall off at parts of this track too. It's a wild track, and definitely a fun one. Bowser Castle. Time for the 5-star tracks, the best tracks within Double Dash. Double Dash's version of Bowser's Castle is one of the strongest within the series. This track has all the challenging elements you would expect from a Bowser's Castle track, such as your thwomps, rotating fire bars, some very sharp turns including lots of full-on 180-degree turns, and loads of places where you can easily fall into lava. This Bowser Castle track also features a huge Bowser statue which shoots fireballs at you, which I think is rad as flip. A very fun and challenging Bowser Castle track. Rainbow Road. Yeah, of course I'm going to give Rainbow Road 5 stars. I wouldn't say this is one of the best Rainbow Roads in the series, but Double Dash's rendition of Rainbow Road is still really good. Like all the good Rainbow Roads in the series, it's once again a very challenging course, and you'll probably be falling off a lot when racing on this course too. For this Rainbow Road, you're mostly racing downhill, and then once you get to the bottom, you get shot out of a giant cannon and travel through a rainbow pipe all the way back up to the top. That giant cannon and the huge rainbow pipe is one of my favourite parts about this track. I also love how you can see Mushroom City below you while racing. That's a very cool detail. Double Dash's Rainbow Road feels like the first Rainbow Road track that really steps up the quality and pushes the bar higher to what to expect from future Rainbow Road tracks in the series. This is easily a top 5 Rainbow Road track for me. Yoshi's Circuit. If you have seen any of my previous videos ranking tracks in the older Mario Kart games, then you will know that we haven't yet had a circuit track reach a 5-star rating. However, Yoshi's Circuit is fully deserving of being a 5-star track. Yoshi's Circuit is one of the most creative tracks within Double Dash. Taking the outline of Yoshi and transforming it into a Mario Kart track is genius. The track itself is really fun to race on, and there are lots of shortcuts you can find and take on this course too. I have zero complaints about this track. I love it. Daisy Cruiser. Here is another one of the more creative tracks in Double Dash. On this track, you race on Daisy's massive cruise ship, going both on the deck alongside a pool and below deck through this restaurant area with a bunch of shifting tables and chairs you need to avoid. You can also fall down this chute into the engine room and get shot out of the exhaust pipe right back onto the track, which is very cool. I absolutely love the theming of this course, and it's one of the most memorable tracks within Double Dash. But we have one more track on this list that I think is a little bit better than Daisy Cruiser. And yes, it's the track on the thumbnail. It's DK Mountain. Oh boy, where do I begin with this track? This track is incredible. You start off by getting shot out of this cannon, which takes you to the top of the mountain. Then you race down the mountain while taking some sharp turns, trying to avoid all the boulders coming for you. Once at the bottom of the mountain, you have to take this incredibly tight turn around a ravine, and then finally, you go across this very narrow moving bridge that is easier to fall off than you think it would be, to do it all again. This course is exhilarating from start to finish, and all the different elements within this track makes this a really fun course to race on. On top of all of this, the theming for this track is great, and the colours used make this track really pop too. So DK Mountain is my favourite track within Mario Kart Double Dash. That's every track ranked, so let's end off by taking a look at which cup has the best tracks within Double Dash. I've used the star rating system to calculate an average score for each of the cups, and here are the results. Special Cup ends up in first place with a very impressive score of 4.25 out of 5. Star Cup is in second with a score of 3.5, followed closely by Flower Cup in third with a score of 3.25. And last but not least is Mushroom Cup with a score of 3, which is still a pretty decent score when you compare it to the scores I gave some of the other cups in the older Mario Kart games. Finally, I took all the star ratings from each track and did some maths to work out a score for the quality of the tracks overall with the Mario Kart Double Dash, and that score turned out to be a very impressive 3.6. This is the highest scoring Mario Kart game we have had so far, and I can see why, as the quality of the tracks in Double Dash is a huge step up from the previous Mario Kart games. We will have to wait and see if future Mario Kart games can match the quality of the tracks within Double Dash. And make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss videos of me ranking every track in Mario Kart DS, Wii, 7 and 8 Deluxe. And while you wait for those videos to come out, check out my previous Mario Kart video where I ranked every track in Mario Kart Super Circuit.